This is the 90 Degree Show brought to you by the Marching Podcast and Blog Talk Radio. And here's your host, the Phantom Podcaster himself, Joe Beard.
Good evening. How good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. Welcome to the 90 Degree Show. I am your host, Joe Beard, and happy to be of service for you tonight. Today is February 9th, 2014, 5 o'clock on the West Coast and 8 o'clock on the East Coast. We appreciate all those listening live, listening in podcast form through Blog Talk Radio, our website, Facebook, Twitter, or through iTunes. At the end of the broadcast, if you decide you like the show, then we appreciate a donation to the network if you feel so in your heart, of course. Just go to themarchingpodcast.com and click on the donate button to help improve the show and help build our scholarship fund. All right. Well, tonight we thank you for listening, all those who are there listening out live. And we want to thank you for being a part of the show tonight. Tonight is a special night because it is our 2014 Marching Podcast Award Show. That's right. We are excited to be a part of the awards. I think this is Rashad calling in here. Rashad, is that you?
Yeah, man.
That's what's going on, Rashad?
Hey, man, sorry I didn't let you know in advance, but I was able to make it, so here I am.
Yeah, well, hey, man, the good old trusty prune juice. I figured that, you would be close or around, and I would hear something from you. I would just, go ahead and roll the show. I figured you'd be there. Also, this year, we're, wrapping up the end of the year, and I brought you on because, we've also, had a good, successful year, but you've also been a part of the year where I've had technical difficulties with logging in or getting this thing logged on, and you were able to then take over the show, I think, like twice. So,
yeah, 2 times I did that. That was the highest ratings, I think.
Yes. It was actually on BET. They had it on BET. Talked about actually had a Marching Podcast commercial during the Mary Jane episodes, and they were talking about that.
Wow.
So,
right? Yeah,
so
I heard about that.
Yeah, it was off the chain. But yeah, man, I just want to appreciate you and all that you've done. Block Band is an outstanding establishment, and we had a lot of firepower coming on for the future. So we're excited to have you on. That's why I said I wanted to bring you on in the first segment tonight. This is definitely the award podcast show. We're going to give our best and worst, not really worst, but the best of the 2013 college football season. We'll inform the schools through Twitter, and once we start to make some connections and talking to some of these band directors, also we'll be posting all of our information to our blog, the Marching Blogcast. We'll post the results this week, so be looking out for that. Speaking of our blog, we will read the winner for last week's People's Choice Awards for the Honda Battle of the Band. We went ahead and let the voting ride for 2 weeks because there was a lot of people in and out talking about the Honda, and it was a really cool thing. And, a lot of people, they voted more than once, and it was a lot of up and down. So we go ahead and we're going to close the voting now. So we'll go ahead and we won't read it now. We'll make sure that you guys stick around after our first segment, and we'll get into that information. Make sure you check out our show on the network for the Honda Battle of the Bands from a couple weekends ago, where you hear from a lot from the Block Band staff. This is a good year for bands, and I think we had a good ending with the Swag Battle of the Bands and the Honda. So hear from some good bands, some good people, and we'll be definitely looking forward to do it again next year. Some promise of some good bands, I believe. So let's hear from our sponsors before we get rolling with the show. Tonight's show is brought to you by Block Band Music and bandhead.org. And / with bandhead.org, HBCUbands.com. Go ahead and check that website out as well. Our first segment now is brought to you by bandhead.org. Let's take the time to hear from them now.
Hi, this is Avery McFadden, Jackson State University graduate, Sonic Boom Trump Funk Panel 1997. You are listening to the 90 Degree Show here on the Marching Podcast Network.
What if there was a Facebook for bands? Wait a minute, there is. Bandhead.org. Bandhead.org is a social network for HBCU show bands. You can create your own profile and post videos, photos, and comments on bandhead.org. Need somewhere to post events, audition schedules, job postings? Check out bandhead.org. Are you recruiting for talent? Go to bandhead.org. Bandhead.org, a social network for bands.
Chopping It Up is a podcast of one-on-one interviews with positive role models that have a connection through music and or education. Chopping It Up is all about inspiring our youth for a great future and providing a roadmap on how to get there. We also chop it up to give insight to anyone looking for information or hope in their endeavors. Chop it up with us on Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern at blogtalkradio.com/marchingpodcast. Chopping It Up, changing the world through positive interaction.
This is Joshua Cousin, representing Ocean of Soul, and you're listening to the 90 Degree Show on the Marching Podcast Network.
All right, welcome back. We're ready to kick off the show. You're listening right there to Florida A&M, and they are playing the Isley Brothers song. Was this Living for the Love of You, I believe? And go ahead and bring Rashad, because, you know, since he is the music expert, it is the Isley Brothers, I believe.
Yeah, man, For the Love of You.
Yeah, man, one of the songs I like hearing them play this year. But definitely, if you are listening live, 718-664 6025. That's 718-664-6025. This is the 90 Degree Show and the 2014 Marching Podcast Awards. We welcome you to join us and talk about the bands and the things that you like hearing from this year. You can also be part of our chat room if you have a Blog Talk Radio account. Just go ahead and log on to the show, and you can leave your comments, and we'll read those comments there on the show. So we really appreciate those, and we'll go ahead and we'll get into the show. Thanks to our sponsors to help improve the show and help build our scholarship fund and help allow us to broadcast during these peak hours. So let me go ahead and read the results from the 2014 Honda Battle of the Bands. And it was, I'm not going to say it was a lot of suspense, so, you know, I won't hit the drum roll, but it was a good turnout. We had the breakdown. Again, you can check out, go to our website, and it's right there from one of our last episodes, with the last episode of the last 90 Degree Show that we had. So I'll go ahead and read the results. This is, yes, of course, from you, the people. We had South Carolina State had 2% of the vote. Morehouse had 5% of the vote. Winston-Salem State had 7% of the vote. North Carolina A&T, North Carolina A&T. Let me go ahead and scroll some of this information down here. North Carolina A&T had 20% of the vote. Bethune-Cookman had 15% of the vote. Arkansas Pine Bluff had 16% of the vote. Alabama State at 13%. And our winner, I guess there is a little bit of suspense, and for all the people that I guess know the lineup, I guess you already know, and there is a little bit of suspense. I just had to go in between because it kind of surprised me myself. So I guess I will go ahead and put that in there. But our winner for the People's Choice Awards Alabama A&M with 21% of the vote. So congratulations to Alabama A&M for winning the 2014 Honda Battle of the Bands. People's Choice Award with the Math-Sci Podcast Network. It was a surprise. Basically, everybody broke down that A&T won, but, you the people, we put it out there on Twitter. Rashad, what do you think about that, man?
Complete nonsense, man. Complete nonsense. I think a lot of people, were voting. I mean, Alabama A&M did a great job. Everybody knows that. Alabama A&M was fantastic. But there's no doubt that A&T was the best band there. If they didn't win, it was a skew in the vote. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, I know that, it's good because they had a good year. We'll definitely be talking about them today, spoiler alert. But they had a good year, really sounded good and really surprised some people this year. And a lot of us basically had them like second or third. I guess it was the basic consensus was A&T, like you said, but they were close enough to make some things interesting. So we definitely have to give them their props for the 2014 Marching Podcast People's Choice Awards. So the outline for tonight's show is the awards for the Marching Podcast, the same as last year. Thinking about fine-tuning a couple of them, but I still thought after, you saw the tape, it's self-explanatory. I'll give the categories. We have Best Fifth Quarter, Best Songs, Sleeper Battles, Sleeper Bands. Now, Sleeper Battles would be a battle that we weren't really expecting, or something that turned out to be a really, really good battle that was not on the radar. Sleeper Bands, the same thing, maybe a band or a school that was not on the radar, but you like what they did this year in 2014 enough for them to, definitely bring them on, honorable mention, so to speak. Best Halftime of the year, Best in the Stands, Best Book, or Best Repertoire. Best in the Stands, Best Repertoire was, I tussled with that, same with last year, but it really comes down to the band and how they react for the play calling as far as Best in the Stands, their motions, their movements, and definitely like flashes that they do in the stands or any type of choreograph that they have prepared, because definitely that is part of their mystique as well. But also the best book, cranking the jukebox out, cranking out songs. Best drill, we all know what that is. And then, of course, our exciting, outstanding, we'll have in our middle segment, best overall band and the best conference. What conference you think had the best top to bottom band? So we'll go ahead and get right into it. Rashad, so let's go ahead and go up to the top. What would you think was the best fifth quarter? And, of course, you can have more than one, and I know that you always break things down and analyze. So I'll just go ahead and let you have it, man. What do you think was some of the best fifth quarter battles? And if you're listening at home or you're able to join our chat room or on Twitter or Facebook, go ahead and give us a call, 718-664-6025. You're listening to the 90 Degree Show, the 2014 Marching Podcast Awards. Hit our chat room. Let us know what you thought there and lay it down for us. I see a couple people in there. Let us know what you think. So, Rashad, man, what do you think about the best fifth quarter of the year?
This is probably the one category that I'm not going to be the strongest at. In preparing for the show, I watched a lot of halftime shows. And I saw a couple of fifth quarter battles, but I don't think I saw enough to really say this one is definitively the best. I don't think it was the best year for fifth quarters this year. Like, for example, last year,
I agree.
The fifth quarter was Norfolk State. Sorry about that, Norfolk. Bethune-Cookman versus Tennessee State. That was incredible fifth quarter for like an hour and a piece. And they matched up this year, and it was like, everybody was very excited to see Jackson and Southern go at it this year the first time. And it was like, all right, here we go. Okay, holy grail. And then the second time they matched up a little bit better. That was a much more interesting battle, seeing actually Jackson State come out ahead on that, with them rising, and doing what I thought they might do, although I hesitated for a while in seeing that they would be able to dethrone Southern this year. But it was interesting to see them actually be able to do that in the fifth quarter. at the Boombox Part 2. So I guess the one that I would say that really caught my attention would probably be Alabama A&M versus Alabama State. Whereas when Alabama State definitely did the better halftime show, they were the much more entertaining band, much more interesting band to listen to. Alabama A&M was still kind of getting their stuff together as far as being this new band that they are on the field. But in the stands, they held their own, and they were the better sounding band. It was not a blowout by any means. I just think that they sounded a little bit better than Alabama State. It was a pretty interesting battle between those two bands.
That's outstanding, man. And I like hearing your analysis anyway. That best fifth quarter, that's probably a little bit more of my bias because, I love fifth quarters and I love stands, Surprise, surprise. I went to Jackson State, but yeah, I love being in the stands. So definitely, so I definitely want to hear. We'll definitely probably change that and modify that. Just best battle, could include halftime and the stands, just like we do from week to week with the People's Choice Awards, so to speak. It looks like we might have dropped a call. We'll get Rashard back going on there. But I'm sure that he'll have some more since, he looked at some more of the halftime shows. So we'll get some more of those going and we'll get him back. But it was surprising that he led off with the Magic City Classic because that was the first battle that I put on my board as well. So it looks like we are definitely in agreement and unison with the Magic City Classic. I just really, really enjoyed Alabama A&M this year. Let me see. Rashad, is that you? Is this you?
Yep. I figured my phone would go out and have to call you from a different one.
Okay, yeah, that's all good. But yeah, man, I was just leading off by saying I had Magic City Classic myself as my lead as far as best fifth quarter. I just thought I've always liked Alabama State because they come with that mass and they come with that sound, you know what I mean? And Alabama A&M really matched them this year. So I thought that their battle was really good because, of the rivalry. The rivalry is always going to be there. But I thought that they were really, really good as well, man. But you said that you had some more as far as like with halftimes and stuff. What other battles were you talking about?
You talking about halftime battles?
Yeah, some of the battles that you were checking out today. Because the fifth quarters were, they were some more that, I was expecting. I'll give you the couple more I have. Hold on, it looks like let me get this caller in here. We want to make sure we get a listener in. Someone from the 917 area code. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from this evening?
Hello, it's Brian Rose calling from Brooklyn.
Oh, what's up, Brian? What's going on, man? How you doing?
I just got out of that incredible snowstorm, so I'm happy to be on the phone.
That's all right, man. We outstanding. We glad that you out of that snowstorm as well. And I shout out to theedge1.com. I see him there in the chat room. So if to Edge, if you got anything to say. So we were just going over fifth quarters, and Rashad broke down that they weren't what we were really expecting this year, but he did throw out the Magic City Classic. Were there any fifth quarters or any halftime shows per se that jumped out at you this year? Not halftime shows, but the battles between the two bands.
I would just say, I guess the normal Southern and Jackson and Tennessee State. I personally think I leaned a little bit towards Tennessee State. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that right now.
It's not good.
But that one was pretty good. And then I think I watched a little bit of Jackson and Alcorn, so that was okay.
Okay.
Now, honestly, fifth quarters to me, I don't think this was the year of fifth quarters.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely, I had to definitely think about it more because last year I definitely had a couple that I like to watch, and this year it wasn't the same. I had the Magic City Classic. I had Texas Southern and Southern because, I thought that they both came with, some good power, and I like seeing the fact that Texas Southern is matching the power of, the so many numbers from Southern. And then I still threw in there, Bethune and Tennessee State because, both schools have good books, good repertoire, and I think that they had that mutual respect game from last year. So I thought it was good, maybe not as the bomb as last year. But Rashad, you were talking about, you had some of those halftime battles. What were a couple of those battles you were talking about, man?
Okay, interesting battles this year. Of course, Jackson State versus Tennessee State. I had almost forgotten about that one. And I'm trying to remember, I was the only one that went the opposite of somebody else. Like, everybody else said this band, and I said, no, that band. I think this year was the year that Tennessee State – did Tennessee State make a big Pac-Man on the field? Did they have
I don't know.
I think it was.
I don't know.
Yes, that was this year, and I thought Tennessee State had the better halftime show. I agree.
Yeah, Tennessee State. They did, I think they did a superb job. I think that's what I said. I hate to come back. You had to play back the recordings, man, and see what I said
right?
back then. But it was a great battle overall between those two bands. I really like that creativity, though. Also, of course, Bethune-FAMU was a talked about battle. I'm gonna let's go ahead and get the fifth quarter going and just say that FAMU, I think they got beaten. Let's just get that going because we know what's gonna happen on the fifth quarter tomorrow. Alabama A&M versus Alabama State, another great battle on the field. I think Alabama State took that one. Just a much more exciting show. Alabama State versus Southern on the field. This is my first time, honestly, even after all these years, really knowing who Alabama State is. And I really began to appreciate them as a band this year. I think they are upper echelon swag band. I think they just have some cleanliness issues. When they play Southern, there's a difference. You hear Alabama State, you hear Southern, you're like, there's a difference right there. Same thing with Jackson. Oh, wow, there's a difference. But that doesn't mean you want them to be standing in front of you. Because they are a powerful band. They are very aggressive, and they put on a really good show, Joe. Unless they do a tribute to Trayvon. Is that right, Joe?
Yeah. Unless you do that, then you ruin it. No.
But I agree. I thought they did a great job with Trayvon and everybody. But that was a good matchup. Alabama State versus Jackson, same thing, and of course Jackson versus Southern, the two matchups there, also great. I think those are the main matchups I had this year.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. I thought that Bethune and FAM, I thought that was good, but I still would like to see, I guess, FAM like at full strength. I actually kind of like how FAM looked with the smaller numbers, but that's going to be gone next year. And then definitely 2 years from now, I think they're going to be right back where they were. And definitely shout out to the folks on the fifth quarter. FAM, it's just like a microcosm. It's just so many of them. It's some cool ones and it's some busters. You just never know. It's just so many of them. You know what I'm saying? Right. You just never know. But yeah, definitely. I mean, we agree definitely about the halftime show there in the Florida Classic. We all have just kind of been just disappointed in, Bethune in the last couple of performances. So I move right on to the best songs. And the best songs or songs that pop in your head or, things that, that you heard people play this year. Brian, I'll start with you, man, if that's cool, man. What were some of the songs that you heard this year, by some of the bands that you liked this year?
I would say South Carolina State's Love and Thunder. Or War and Thunder, Love and Thunder, I think is the name of that song.
Love and War?
Love and War.
Love and War, sorry.
Yeah.
Definitely a very good sounding song. Can you come back to me, please?
Yeah. I'm glad that you said that one because hey, this is the award, so having one is saying enough. But I tell you, man, I thought that was the bomb too. I had South Carolina State as well with Love and War. I thought they had the best rendition. I heard Southern's, of course, for a while and really enjoyed their rendition. But then when I heard South Carolina State's, I really enjoyed it. South Carolina State's a great music school, and they got a good book. They'll come out with a great, outstanding arrangement off the rip sometimes, or they'll just come out and slam you out of nowhere. So really good for him, and like that surprise bounce back. We got someone from the 678 area code calling in. Caller, what's your name and where you calling from this evening?
This is James McDaniel. I'm calling in from Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, James, what's going on, man? How you doing, man?
How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. This is the owner and founder of Band 2. I'm representing. Right. Yeah, man. How you doing, man?
Doing all right.
Hey, man, we appreciate your call this evening because I know that your eyes have seen some good things this year. We came back, and we started out with the best fifth quarter, and Rashad gave us, just some best overall battles. I ask you, man, what is maybe a best fifth quarter or a best halftime battle that you saw this year?
Let's see here. Halftimes, I think I liked the BCU Tennessee State game as far as halftimes. They didn't really have too great a showing as far as fifth quarter because they had to get up out of there. The promoters wasn't having that. But as far as fifth quarters, it's just like what everybody else says. I enjoyed, of course, Southern versus Jackson State. Let me see. There were a couple of more. Of course, the Alabama State versus Southern. That was a great game. I was actually there for that one.
Okay.
As far as them drawing the crowd into the entire battle, that was probably, I think, the best one out of all of them, only because of the way they drew the crowd into what they were playing and getting their emotions into it instead of just everybody standing around, okay, listening to this song, listening to that song. It was a lot more than that. They fed into it a lot more. So I give Alabama State and Southern props for pulling that off, especially later on in the season where, everybody's like, okay, we've heard all the songs that you can play. They still got up and showed that they love what the bands were doing in that one.
Well, that's what's up, man. So the category we came to now was best songs of the year. What are some of the best songs that you heard this year?
Number one, hats off. I got to give it to them. Southern University, that Beyond is ridiculous. I mean, it absolutely shows the type of arranger Hammer is and what he can really do. Because if you actually go and listen to that song, he arranged it to the T. Listen to that song, I would never think a band could play it. But he pulled it off. And Southern played the hell out of it. They really did.
Mm-hmm.
So, number one in my book, this is me personally, I got to give it to them on that one. Let's see, are there any others? I liked, Alabama State's, what is that song called? Memories Back Then. Very good. Very good arrangement. The execution was a little off when I heard them playing against Southern, but still, even with that, they brought a lot of power, and when they were cleaner, on the cleaner side of the song, it was very, very great executed. I enjoyed that one a lot. You probably have to, with this one, come back to me, man. There's so many from this season that I'd have to go over in my head to bring to you, but those two actually really stood out to me.
Hey, that's all good, man. Hey, one is enough. Like they say, this is an award show, so,
okay.
we give out one.
Yeah, well, my top pick would definitely have to be that Beyond, by far. It has to be.
Yeah. And like you said, it's hard to narrow it down because there's so many songs and, bands is coming at least 50, 60, 70 songs. So, it's hard to even try to cover so many. I'm going to get to Rashad here right quick here. Rashad, what are some of the top songs that you've heard from this year?
All right, man. So let me say what the number one song was not. And I'm glad my man mentioned Southern. I was like, oh, my God, he said Southern. He's about to say Holy Grail. Because the number one song was not Southern University's Holy Grail. I would just put this on the market. It sounded bad. It sounded pretty terrible. Every time that I heard it, it was loud, yes, and it was loud and bad. I'm just sorry. Sorry to hurt people's feelings. I'm the Prodigious and tell it like it is. However, that arrangement that he just mentioned, Beyond, I think, is that the Stevie Wonder song? Or is that, no, I think there's two of them that Southern did that was kind of like, really like, this is not really what Southern does. And I think Beyond was one of them.
Beyond is by, like, what do you call that stuff? I forgot what it's called, but it's by a group called Daft Punk. They actually don't have like lyrics to the song. It's literally just music, and it's like it's a cross between Warren G's Regulators and the original song. I can't remember what it is. I keep forgetting.
Oh, that Michael McDonald.
It's a cross between the both of them, but then it's like mixed with techno. You have to actually listen to it yourself. It's when you hear it, you'll be like, okay, well, he arranged the hell out of that, like seriously, because he arranges it from top to bottom. It's ridiculous.
All right, well, I'm gonna say that song. I knew it was another song that Southern played that was like ridiculous like that. It's got to be. I'm sure that's the song that you're talking about, that I'm talking about. But also they did that Stevie Wonder song that was like straight, all piano keys, and it's like once again, how in the world could any band play this song? Sans Norfolk State. Norfolk State would be the only band that could play something like that. And
I think it was Contusion. Is that what it's called?
Contusion. Yes.
Yeah, Contusion. Yeah.
That was crazy. Now, Song of the Year. Definitely a high choice of that being Song of the Year. Other great songs this year, Prototype, Alabama A&M, Honda Performance. Great job. I think a lot of people really love that. Another one real quick, I think it was When I Was Your Man, Bruno Mars, North Carolina A&T. Yes. Beautiful.
They did that one.
And a couple other things. Jackson State, you don't even know, in the stands. Yes, and they're also I guess they call it. What do you call that thing when they put the band back together? The mash, the mix. You know what I'm saying? The freshman to upper class.
Yeah.
Rich is Spit and a couple of other songs together. Those are great. But Song of the Year would probably have to be Contusion. That was incredible.
Contusion by Southern?
Southern. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that's what's up, man. I'll give Garrett, since, he's representing from there in the chat room, and him and I, we both agree on this one, but definitely, and Southern, it's hard not to say Southern, cranking something in the stands that, you're excited about, but definitely On My Grind from Southern. I definitely agree with that one. That was one of the things that I had on there. And then, of course, Stranger in My House. I mean, it's hard not to have that one, but because I love that one myself, Stranger in My House from the S. And it's just, I love when they had them slow songs and they start and it sound like they screaming at the end. They're my favorite, man. And they definitely play that really, really well this year. They play Head Busters. They play Head Busters all right too. I guess I just love the chords or that woo doo doo doo. I just love that part. And Purple Rain was all right too. I mean, I thought that they did well and they played it at the right time. Also had Fam, For the Love of You, where we just played it there. Alabama A&M had Pretty Girls, and I used to crank that. I was like, is that Alabama A&M playing? But Pretty Girls, y'all definitely check out Alabama A&M Pretty Girls. That was one of my favorites. And Brian and I definitely agree on SC State Love and War. I thought that they had the best arrangement and the best rendition. And Neck from Livingstone and Clark. I know that their renditions of Neck and Livingstone had the Dre Day. I talked about that like 8 times this year. But they had the West Coast with the Dre and the Dog Pound. And Clark had the In Vogue mix where they did, Neck, and they went into, my first mistake was I wanted too much time. That was the jam.
So
I definitely, man, I'm about to start wilding out up in here, man. That at Miles College, No Love in the Heart of the City, and I thought that Talladega had a couple of hits this year. Get on My Level I liked, and some of the other ones. And I think Garrett and you, James, you guys posted some footage from I guess a Battle of the Bands or a parade. From not too long ago.
That was Garrett. I went to the battle between who was it? It was Talladega and Mississippi Valley.
That's what it is, right? Because they've been around. Seem like they out there like trying to get a football team out there or something. They've been putting themselves out there these last couple of months, and so they've been doing that thing too. So, yeah, man, I appreciate that as well. Brian, let me go ahead and see here. Brian, are you good with best songs, man?
Definitely. You brought up one I forgot about, which was the North Carolina A&T's When I Was Your Man. That was probably one of the closest voicing songs. I mean, I haven't heard Southern's Beyond yet, but I think y'all brought up a lot of good ones. I actually like The Purple Rain. The Pretty Girls, I'm definitely going to check out, and Love and War. Those are probably my top.
Okay, that's what's up, y'all. That's what's up, y'all. So James, yeah, I mean, I'll go ahead and keep you on, man, since we all, we know what you've been doing and everything. Sleeper battles, this is something to me, like, because this year, and that's definitely, we'll try to fine tune this in the upcoming year, but definitely I look at all of the schedules and I just look and I see, this might be good to talk about this week, or it's totally random. I try to get to hold of everybody, but definitely when I think of like sleeper battles, it's a battle that I wasn't expecting, and something that I didn't see that jumped out on the schedule. But then after I saw it, or after I heard from Facebook or whatever, I actually looked at it and I was like, oh, okay, this might be a little something that that was tight, and I was able to watch it and enjoy it. So I'll start with you, James, man. What are a couple of the battles that maybe didn't jump out at you on the schedule, but you ended up finding out that actually turned out to be pretty good this year?
The biggest one that I probably have to mention is Alcorn versus Mississippi Valley.
Okay.
Those two bands, to me, this year, they've come such a long way, especially Mississippi Valley with this year. Alcorn has been on the come up for maybe about the past 2 years now, maybe 2.5. But Mississippi Valley, they came out of nowhere this year, and they were going for heads. They left it all on the field. They left it all in the stands every time they appeared. So when I heard about them versus Alcorn, I was like, that's going to be an interesting one right there, and it was. They tried to let each other have it, and I think that was probably one of the most slept on battles of the year, honestly.
Okay, that's what's up, man. Brian, what do you think, man? What are your maybe a battle that you wasn't really jumping out at you, but it turned out to be pretty good?
I gotta say Alcorn versus Talladega. I know that wasn't like an actual game battle, but I was just watching some clips to that Battle of the Bands, and I was like, I don't know what Alcorn did to Talladega. I don't know what Talladega did to Alcorn, but that was intense.
Yeah.
That was intense.
I had that on my list, too.
That was one of those, we feel this in our chest.
Yeah, definitely. Talladega trying to come with, they trying to put themselves out there, like come to our school, we trying to take over. They definitely making a mad push like that. Rashad, man, what do you think about this year? Something that you found out later that turned out to be pretty good.
I don't know if I have any sleeper battles. I do have a couple sleeper bands, or at least one sleeper band, but no sleeper battles really. Pretty much everything I thought was going to be awesome was pretty awesome. Well, no, some things I thought were going to be awesome weren't all that awesome, but there wasn't anybody that I thought was going to be boring, and that was awesome. We're not one.
Right. Totally understand. Plus, with you having your ear to the street so much, it's hard for you. It's hard to get something by you, man. So I'm saying I totally understand. You know what I'm saying? For me, with the sleeper battles, I was surprised at the Prairie View Texas Southern game. I kind of slept on Prairie View, I think, just because, you never see them, or, you never say that you're going out there, or you never know if they're going to travel to see you. But they're coming with it this year, and Texas Southern, they've been coming with it with the small band for a long time. So I really enjoyed seeing them going back and forth and try to outblow each other. I thought that was something that, I didn't pay attention to Prairie View this year. And, that jumped out at me. And then, of course, Jackson State with Alabama A&M. Alabama A&M surprised me. So, I was actually this year looking at the schedule, but then when it actually came up, that's a game that I wanted to check out just because of Alabama A&M this year. Like Rashad, similar, I had more sleeper bands and not the actual battle. So, we'll go ahead and roll right into that. Rashad, what were some of your bands that maybe not traditional per se, or maybe traditional, whatever, but they jumped out at you and had a good year this year?
Miles College. What is a Miles College? Where is Miles College?
Alabama.
I mean, who is a Miles College? You know, that was my thing. You know, I don't know nothing about a Miles College, man, but I think there was supposed to be a battle. I think it was Miles College and Savannah State, and Savannah State didn't show up. And, you know, we get 100% of Miles College. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's a Miles College. You know, they're not bad. I enjoyed learning about them and hearing them. They definitely, for me, were a sleeper band.
Definitely. I definitely agree. They are on my list as well. Brian, what do you think, man? What are some of the bands that maybe didn't jump out at you, but, you know, thought had a good year?
Talladega, that's one. And then I think that Alcorn and Grambling was better than they have been in the past. Okay, giving Grambling some love out there, you know. I remember, and I, you know, shout out to the Fifth again. You know, I can't never not give the Fifth props. But I remember on a thread someone put, like, you know, who had a good year, basically similar to this question, and someone put Grambling on there. And then, of course, a whole bunch of people laughed just because, you know, they're going to like to poke fun at Grambling. And somebody had posted a clip of this video of Donald Faison from Clueless laughing, man. And you know how people on the Fifth, you know, do all that technical stuff. But I thought that was funny, you know, you bringing up Grambling. But definitely Grambling, they had a little bit more, especially in the Battle of the Bands at the end of the year. They had more than they had in 2012, I thought. But definitely shout out to Grambling. I think...
Hey, go ahead. I forgot one. When you get a chance, I want to put one up there. I didn't mean to cut you off there. UAPB. UAPB was the band, the SWAC band that I did not see at all. Not one. Yep. Even, you know, the one performance where every SWAC band is there, they weren't there. You know, so to see them at the Honda and do a dynamite show, to me, one of the best shows at the Honda was really awesome. So probably the number one sleeper band would have to be UAPB. Sorry for forgetting about them. Yeah,
I was going to bring them up myself. James, what do you think, man? What are some of those bands that popped out at you this year?
I would have to say a lot of the ones that everybody else said. I had three myself. Definitely Miles College. I think they're trying to be on the comeback, on the rise to possibly where they were, you know, around the 2005 to 2006 era, considering they have a band director that's from that era, so it makes sense. Then you also have, of course, Talladega, the band that came out of nowhere that's almost like 200 or so more strong now. It's ridiculous. I've gotten to see them up close and personal, and I would tell everybody they are real. They're no joke. Those boys are real. They may not be the caliber, you know, as the heavyweights yet, but they're not scared to go toe-to-toe with them right now, and they wouldn't care, you know, win or lose. They're going to come after your head regardless, and that's how they are. Very cutthroat. Love them. And one that nobody else will probably ever think about is St. Augustine College. They have been popping up a lot this season. Yes, if you haven't seen them, look them up. They have been popping up a lot this season, and they don't sound bad at all. Got to give them props on all the hard work that they're doing down there. They're either about around the same size as CAU, if not smaller, I think. And they still, you know, they're producing sound. They sound really good. They do. So that would have to be my three.
That's what's up, man. And shout out to DeLynn Thurman Hollins, director out there. We chopped it up with him and my fellow white shirt there, and from 96, Johnson C. Smith white shirts. Shout out to you out there. But yeah, that's what's up, man. Giving props to the St. Aug program. I just went and looked at the chat room. Garrett had put up SU versus Talladega Bacchus 2014. Bacchus, BACCH, US. I don't know if that took place or that did take place. You have to break me down and on that one, Garrett. But definitely, if that's something on the right. Oh, Mardi Gras parade. Wow. That might be scary. March 2nd. So definitely in the future, definitely something that we need to put on there. I'm sure the Edge and all the off the chain Louisiana folk will be somewhere in that vicinity. So you'll hear about some information about that. We'll definitely be talking about that. So that's definitely outstanding. Appreciate that. The Edge, y'all check out the edge1.com for some outstanding band videos and that definitely that southern flavor. He's definitely got that southern flavor. I see him. He's doing a lot of good things, man. So shout out to you, man. Appreciate the information. Okay, so moving right along. Well, I think I gave a couple of my. Oh, I didn't. Talladega, Alabama A&M. I like Savannah State, y'all. I'm not going to lie, man. I really enjoy watching Savannah State. They impressed me last year, and they impressed me again this year. I like Morgan State, too. I definitely think that Morgan and Savannah State are kind of slept on a lot here in the country. And Virginia State didn't make a lot of noise, and they weren't the bomb per se, but I really like their hybrid style, and that they really claim that hybrid style. I think that they're doing it the best right now out of the bands that are claiming to do it. So I like throwing them in there. And then I have to add UAPB as well, because I was mad at myself when I saw them at the Honda, and I was like, man, I didn't get a chance to see them this year. Them or Delaware State. Shout out to you, Delaware State. I didn't get a chance to see y'all this year, but I was glad to see them at Honda and see that they performed so well. So shout out to those guys as well. Let's move right along into the best halftime show.
Well,
and I'll throw out.
So, Joe, it sounds like what you're trying to tell us here, that your favorite colors are orange and blue. I mean, it just seems to be like, that's like, you just like that color.
I like that, man.
Are you guys doing a wedding anniversary? You just playing a wedding anniversary? These are going to be your colors. I mean, Morgan State, Savannah State, and Virginia State. I mean,
oh yeah, that is a lot of orange, man. I'm just not tripping off that. Yeah, and blue. You know, it's that Rams blue. But definitely, man, those schools, you know, I enjoy what they're doing because, you know, they're smaller and they just listen to each other well. You know what I mean? You know, it's just, you know, you don't have those numbers like Jackson State, but, you know, they put it together well. So I really enjoy that. And moving into the best halftime show, and Rashad, I was going to throw it to you next because I was going to throw out mine. You actually won me over this year. Rashad and I were talking on text, and we talked on the phone this year about a couple of the halftime shows we were watching. And he was like, hey, man, have you checked out the Gangster Show? And I was like, what? Like, what you talking about? And he was like, man, you ain't seen the Gangster Show. I was like, what? And so, long story short, I ended up seeing it, and, man, that just was the best show to me this year that I saw. North Carolina A&T in that Gangster Show, man. I really enjoyed that show, man. And they had the little skit in the beginning, you know, just like Michael Jackson, man. I was like, man, that's dope, man. That's great production, you know what I'm saying? So it definitely got me into that, and I really like how they keep the themes to the show. Just shout out to A&T, man, and that Gangster Show. Rashad, man, what was the best halftime to you this year?
Once again, I have to get right on with you with A&T. A&T has really been the band this year. Actually, Joe, I just in coming here, I just got finished with an Arrangers Corner meeting with Block Band. We got 5 arrangers on staff. We talked about it. And we talked about A&T a lot during that, and everybody was so impressed with them as a band. My favorite show this year would probably be the Honda. I just, you know, every show they did this year, Joe, every one that I saw was awesome. And they started out with the state show against Appalachian State, and I heard, like, wow, they really sound amazing. And then the next one I saw was them in person at A&T. And it was a decent job, but then the very next weekend they performed at a high school battle of the bands. And it was a contemporary music show with the, you know, they played that. And it's like, wow, it really sounded great. And then they came with the Gangster Show. It was like, wow, that was pretty doggone amazing. And then they ended with the Honda, which, I mean, they got standing ovation at the Honda. They did some things that nobody had ever seen before not at that level. We've seen core style marching at the Honda, but not some of the things that they were attempting. So definitely hats off to A&T for everything they did this year. My favorite show definitely would be the Honda Battle of the Band show.
That's what's up. Brian, I know I'll go ahead and slide to you, the great Aggie that we have on the show, since we done, you know, put our 2 already out there, man. What do you think was the best halftime that you saw this year?
Okay, so I tried to be not biased. I looked at a lot of shows. I looked at Jackson shows. I looked at Southern. I looked at Pine Bluff. I looked at all my favorites. I looked at Grambling, even some of my non-favorites. I looked at Alabama State. Alabama State show against Southern was a very good, for me, for them, one of the best shows that I've seen from Alabama State, personally. Southern show, it's the Alabama State game, phenomenal. But hands down, North Carolina A&T's two pinwheels playing Night on Ball Mountain, bringing it down, doing those DTR pinwheels, and so I got chills. I mean, I don't get chills in HBCU band, and I got a chill. And it wasn't perfectly executed, but if you could tell if them kids had another week or another couple of days to work on that show, oh, my God. I mean, the gangster show was amazing, too. I even like what they get. I mean, just hands down on the field, they changing the game. That's kind of the way I would put it. And I'm going to leave it alone because I don't want to seem like I'm overly biased. But hands down, North Carolina A&T at the Honda.
That's what's up. James, what do you think, man? What's the best halftime you saw this year?
Being a little bit more biased towards the music side, but I'm in agreement with you guys. Just because I like the music more in this show, I'm all with y'all as far as in line with North Carolina A&T. That Adrian Carroll Battle of the Bands, love that show.
Okay.
That show was very, very nice.
Yeah,
by them. I did want to add something else in a kind of a different category because I know we're not going to focus on it, but it's kind of up there with what we as HBCUs do. Was one that I was going to throw in for the best dance routine. The Southern Homecoming was the greatest thing I have seen as far as a dance routine in a while. The energy, the kids having fun, along with the energy of the announcer, pulled everybody, and I haven't seen anyone say one negative thing about that dance routine yet. And if you haven't seen it, please go look at it. It is hilarious, and it took a lot of thought and creativity for them to think of something like that.
Now, was it the excuse me? Was it the the dance? I'm trying to think the dance. I'm trying to think because I think they did
for their
against
dance
Jackson
the
State.
Soul Train line.
The Soul Train
line.
No,
it was their homecoming dance. Yeah, their homecoming dance.
Okay, so did they do that there at the homecoming?
Yeah, they did. I'm not sure if they did it against Jackson. I know they did it at their homecoming, though.
Joe, I think
they did it the second time.
Boombox Part 2.
Oh, okay.
Right.
They did it twice then?
Yeah, I think so. I think they did. They did it. People hit me up because I was saying that, it was something out of the box and something they hadn't done before.
It's out of what we're used to seeing out of dance routines anymore.
Yeah, it definitely was different. I mean, I didn't know what to think. It caught me off guard. I have a cough attack, but definitely I thought that it was the same type of thing. I definitely thought it was out of the box. I was still kind of in shock about like if I liked it or if I didn't like it. I still don't know what. You know what I'm saying? I still don't know, but definitely I gave them props for doing something different. But definitely.
But as far as just the actual halftime, it was that A&T show for me. That Adrian Carroll Battle of the Bands. That was nice.
So we definitely are definitely in accord and agreement with a lot of these in linear fashion, but definitely we all agree about A&T. So we got a couple of more before we move to the most touted, the most talked about couple of categories we have. Next we have is Best in the Stands. Brian, what band that you thought this year was really, really good in the stands?
I don't know if it's just me, but I love Tennessee State in the stands. Amazing control, good book, clean, and not always the most exciting music selections, or sometimes not always the most exciting band. But, I'm not a big fan of their field shows, but as far as in the stands, Tennessee State is, to me, right now, probably on the top two. I think that Jackson... I would put Jackson up there, too, but I have to, more and more I watch them, the more and more I notice the non-cleanliness and the as big as that brass section is, they don't have to blow that hard. because sometimes it just gets too messy. But it's interesting. You listen to Jackson versus Alabama State, completely different sound in Jackson than when they played Southern. So with Jackson, I started to watch them different games, and I'm like, they sound different depending on who they play.
Mm-hmm.
To me, against Tennessee State, they were trying to blow the paint off those horns, and it didn't always sound good. But when I listened to them against Southern, I'm like, they have so much control this time. I don't know what's different, but I felt more control. So, I don't know. I'm going to edge towards Tennessee State. And I hate giving it to one that's always going to be in the top, but to me, that was my favorite.
I hear you, man. I definitely know that, that was definitely the talk when we were there where, or, when I was there, where, we definitely talked about, okay, well, we can't outblow Southern, we got to outplay Southern. Or, I remember 97, if there's any tape still out there, when we went to Pine Bluff, we annihilated Pine Bluff that year. And I remember we were so hyped on the bus, and we were like, we about to try to blow them into the stratosphere, you know what I mean? And the attitude was definitely changed. And I remember Mr. Adams yelling at us, that's not the correct note, you know what I'm saying? Because he was so mad that we were so overly crunk. And I wonder if a lot more bands do it, but, you bring up an interesting point, and that's something that I definitely remember where we definitely talked or game planned definitely that week about the band that we were coming up against. And I wonder if that's still bleeding down to the guys that's still down there doing it. So that's definitely an interesting point. James, what do you think, man? Who was the best couple of bands that you saw in the stands this year?
I definitely agree with the point that he made. Probably all around, honestly, it's got to go to Penn State. As far as, staying inside their box, keeping in tune with their style, what they're traditionally known for, and you can't outgroove Tennessee State. They can play anything they want to against you. You're going to play rap songs, they'll play a rap song at you. You don't play a ballad, they can play a ballad back at you. But when it comes to that groove, it's very few bands that still do it. And it was funny he mentioned Jackson State, because that's what made the Southern Heritage Classic so good for me, was that Jackson State was one of those grooving bands. I'm starting to see them move away from that in these past couple of years. I don't know if maybe they're just pulling out more arrangements from a different arranger, but you see them moving away from it. And that's going to hurt them at the Southern Heritage Classic if they keep, in future years, if they keep up with that, because that's what that game was big for. There were no two bands that grew better than Tennessee State and Jackson. But I would definitely have to give it to Tennessee State in that accord. But honestly, bar none, say what you will about the band. They have no emotion. They're a robot. Whatever. There's nothing that topples BCU's sound in the stands or on the field. Them cats, it's a wall of sound. Every single note, every phrase, everything, it's all together. It's never outside the box. And it like I said, it's a wall of sound that is ridiculous. You can hear it across the field. You can hear it right in front of them. You can hear it anywhere. It doesn't matter. It bounces. It just doesn't matter. You can't refute their sound in the stands. You just can't. You can say whatever about the book you want to, whatever. It doesn't matter. So as far as sound-wise, cleanliness, it's got to go to BCU. But all around, I'd have to get it to Tennessee State.
That's what's up, man. Rashawn, what do you think, man?
I would have to throw it at Southern again. I'm imagining as a band director, I've got my list of songs. We're hyped to go against Southern. So, okay, we've got these power songs, and we might not be able to outblow these cats, but we're going to outfunk them. And they pull out Contusion. And I'm like, I'm going through my list, like, well, we don't have nothing for that. Co-artist Nate.
Right.
So I would definitely have to give it to Southern just for the diversity in the stands this year. It just really impressed me.
That's what's up, man. Me, myself, I think like we definitely on the same accord. I had SU, I had Bethune, and I had Tennessee State, of course. So, those were definitely my top three. I added Miles and Talladega as like on the end because they're exciting to me and, they're on the come up. But they're still not on that level of what Bethune, Tennessee State, Southern. They're not there on that level yet. And I always like fam in the stands, but this year they were smaller, and I definitely like to see them come back to see to really judge them. So really, I thought that fam was, I don't really think they were really in the discussion or whatever. I like to see them come back, but definitely BCU and Tennessee State, we all in agreement about that. Okay, last, and we're doing good on time because it's last 30 minutes left, and we're going to talk about a couple of other things here. The last minor or the less semi category one I'll throw out there is the best book, best repertoire, and I'm sure that these will be somewhat parallel, but the best school with the best book. I'll give out mine right quick. BCU, of course, and Tennessee State. Tennessee State, just like James was saying, they'll play anything at you, because they play marches. Jackson State as well, playing marches and playing funk and rap. I think you having the whole spectrum definitely separates you. So definitely Tennessee State, they, ever since that year in 97 where we showed up in Memphis and they just kept playing and we just had no other song to play, we were like, why do they have so many songs? It seemed like they've just stepped on that every year moving forward. So Brian, what book do you think has a really good repertoire?
Man, I feel like a broken record, but I think Tennessee State and Bethune, but I agree. I mean, two of the best books out there. I also give Jackson, Southern, and probably, I don't think A&T is like a good stands band right now. Like, I think they got some things they need to work on in that category. They're definitely not old A&T in that regard. I definitely think the variety of music is good. From a repertoire, I think they have to continue to work on cleaning it up, and I think they're making a lot of strides, and every program has their own struggles. But as far as repertoires, those are my top five, I would say. BCC, Tennessee State, Jackson and Southern, even though both of those two SWAC bands bother me at times, but it's more of a style thing than it is anything else, and that's just a personal preference. It doesn't mean it's bad. And then I would say A&T from a diversity standpoint, because A&T, they'll just play anything you can think of, like Kelly Clarkson. It doesn't matter who sing it. They'll play country music next. I'm sure they got that in there too. So.
Well, that's what's up. You're also free at home to call in at 718-664-6025. This is a 90 Degree Show here, brought to you by the Marching Podcast and Blog Talk Radio. Thanks for listening. Rashad, man, what school do you think has a really good repertoire?
Well, after this, Joe, I'm going to have to get ready to go there, man. I just want to let you know there.
Okay.
But I definitely think that Southern, once again, like my man said, my CD is stuck on repeat. I thought their repertoire was very diverse as well. And maybe I'm speaking at a handicap a little bit because, once again, I didn't see a lot of the fifth quarter things. I spent a lot of time watching shows this year, and I think that's I think that's what A&T was doing. Speaking of what my man was doing, I don't know how strong A&T was in the stands this year. I did see them 2 times, I think, in person, and they really didn't play a whole lot. Like, they played a couple songs against Hampton. They played a couple songs at a home game, and that was it. I think, and if I could base how they did in the stands off of probably how they did last year, like I said, it's not all that tight. But I think they are putting so much focus on their show right now.
Yeah.
That there's probably a limit to what they could do in the stands. So I would have to bring it back towards Southern again for diversity. But on that note, man, Joe, I've enjoyed it, man. It's been a great season this year. And, of course, we'll continue to do some things. I know we got a Chopping It Up coming up real soon with another great band that's going to do some things. And I really appreciate all the ad time that you provided for Block Band this year.
Yeah, definitely, man. Well, hey, man, we appreciate you. And that's what I was going to say, man. I was going to say the next segment is brought to us by Block Band Music. But we'll definitely be putting out there. We'll let the listeners know. But I appreciate you, Rashad, man. I appreciate all that you had. It was a good season. We'll definitely be working on some things this year.
Oh, let me just say this, because I know you mentioned this later on in the show. I know the number one question was, did Alabama State big girls, did they steal that from Edward Waters? I know that was the number one question of the year. I know they end up with that. No, the question was, should there be PWCs at the Honda? I'll just throw my 2 cents in there just real fast. I say absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is an opportunity for show-style bands to show who they are, because in a national level, even though we get some press and some, we got a movie and all that type of stuff, people overall still don't know who we are. The last thing we need is to kind of take away from that while we're still, stepping up for people to know who we are. So, no, absolutely not. It's not a racial thing at all. I just think that it's time HBCUs need to be out there and put their thing out there. So the whole point of bringing the PWC in to try to bring in more money and things like that, no. Just have those bands, have the bands that are there step up their game. So on that note, you be blessed, okay?
All right, man. Appreciate it, man. I'm glad that you said what you did. I know that was one of the things we talked about, and I had messed up with the format. Really wanted to get some more of that conversation in on our last episode, but I put that out there, and there was a lot of people talking about it on bandhead.org, and I'm so glad that you also said show style bands, because there was a guy, I think he was a band director in Texas, that said that we should stop talking about show style bands. So we want to bring him on. We want to talk about that, but definitely you talking about show styling, what these HBCUs are doing, and what would change if you brought a Michigan on there. Well, definitely it probably wouldn't be the Honda Battle of the Bands with Norfolk and with all these other schools. If Honda or some of these other schools gets a taste of some Oklahoma money or some Washington money or something like that, then it definitely would change the game. So, yeah, it's definitely a true thing. I'll ask James and Brian that a little bit later. But, James, I want to ask you before we go to this last segment, man, what were some of those...
Okay, man, take care.
All right, take care, man. What were some of the bands that had a best repertoire that you thought this year?
Repertoire. That's very tough. Definitely have to put Southern in there. Now, when we talk about book and repertoire, I will say that I will add A&T only because I see book and repertoire as not only, something that you play in the stands, but what you play in general. And that includes what they played in their shows. That's a part of their repertoire. It's in their book. And what they played in their shows was phenomenal, every time I saw it anyway. So I would definitely add A&T in there. And, of course, like I said before, at Tennessee State, they have one of the most diverse books out of anybody as far as especially keeping up with, our side of things, with the groove and the funk, the tunes from the 70s. They definitely have that covered. So that would have to be my top 3 on it. Definitely my top 3, yeah.
Well, that's cool, man. We really appreciate you. We're going to go ahead and go to this next segment, and we're going to come back and we'll talk about the 2 most touted awards, the Best Overall Band and Best Overall Conference. Let's go ahead and take this break. This break and this commercial break is brought to you by Block Band Music. Let's take the time to hear from them now.
This is Curtis from 80minutesofregulation.com. From referees' whistle to drum majors' whistle and back, your source for sports and marching and athletic music. You're listening to the 90 Degree Show on the Marching Podcast Network.
Block Band is a minority-owned music business that you can think of as your assistant band director. We help grow your musicians with a great selection of traditional concert band music. Then we back up their performance with necessities like reeds, oil, drum heads, drumsticks, and mallets. Finally, we outfit your players in auxiliary and shoes, spats, and gloves that match our precise custom drills. Got band? If so, then Block Band's got you. Check blockbandmusic.com or call us at 919-698-2560. That's blockbandmusic.com, 919-698-2560.
What up, bandheads? Are you looking for a talk show about HBCU marching bands? Well, look no further than the 90 Degree Show, brought to you by the Marching Podcast. Every Sunday during the football season at 8 p.m. Eastern, we recap the most intriguing battles of the weekend and give you, the listener, an opportunity to voice your opinion on the battle by calling into the show and talking with our panelists. Are you ready for the only interactive show in the world for HBCU marching bands? Then check us out Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern at blogtalkradio.com/marchingpodcast. The 90 Degree Show, the interactive HBCU band podcast show.
Hi, this is Chris Jones, and founder and creator of March Aerobics. My website is cj@marchaerobics.com, and you listen to the 90 Degree Show in the Marching Podcast Network. Now get your legs up.
All right, we're back. Go ahead and make sure you let us know what you think of the 2013 year at 718-664-6025. This is the 90 Degree Show brought to you by the Marching Podcast and Blog Talk Radio. You're listening to a little bit of the sonic boom of the South and Ain't Worried About Nothing or something like that. It's one of those songs or something, but it's definitely one of those songs that Brian was talking about they'd be trying to super crank, trying to blow the roof off the joint. It's one of the things I don't like. I don't mind hearing, though. I can tell you that. 718-664-6025 is the 90 Degree Show. Go ahead and make sure you call us in. We're now going to talk about the two most interesting, the best overall band and the best conference. You can go ahead and leave us a message in the chat room if you want to, or you can call us in or hit us up on all our social networking. We really appreciate all those listening live and all those who got to listen in podcast form in the future. So, Brian, I'm going to throw it to you, man. Who was the best overall band this year?
This is very, very hard for me to say. But I don't like saying their school because they really bother me, and they lack of diversity in their shows and just lack of creativity, and I'm just disappointed constantly when I watch them. But I still have to say BCC. Overall, from a execution in sound, execution in marching, execution in presence, and they even have a good book, and they still put on a good dance routine. I'd have to say overall best, still BCU.
Wow, that's outstanding, man. James, what do you think, man?
From overall pageantry standpoint, from top to bottom, you got to give it to one of the two schools. For me, it's got to either be BCU or Southern. It's a toss-up to me, only because execution is in the eye of the beholder to me. Southern style is Southern style, so I wouldn't necessarily call them wrong, but I would put BCU ahead just simply because of, like tuning issues and people missing notes, and that doesn't happen with BCU. So BCU would be, my number one, and Southern would be number two as far as everything from top to bottom, because I haven't seen them mess up anything in particular, especially like on their drilling. There's nobody that really out-drills the way they do. Now, North Carolina A&T may have had, more interesting, more maybe entertaining shows with the themes and everything, but they can still stand because it's a new concept that they're bringing in to get it a lot cleaner, and that's the issue that I see with them. And then their stands, the stand portion of, their band, I kind of see lagging behind as far as where their shows are. Shows are great. They can use a little cleaning up, though, with the style that they're using. But my number one and two, it's got to be BCU and then Southern after that. But BCU is the first, yeah.
Yeah, man, it was tough because, last year we basically had a consensus with, BCU last year, and it was pretty easy to put them there. This year, I was rooting on someone else. That's probably basically what it was. I was pulling for someone else because I wanted someone else to be there. So, I was quick to throw A&T up there because of their shows, but definitely, man, I was trying to say, best overall, best attributes in the most areas.
Right.
Definitely, you got to put BCU up there because they're still doing their thing this year. I wanted to see more from them, but I'm sure that, they're peaking, or I'm sure that they're, getting close to their ceiling. So maybe I'm being more critical of them, but they did show up this year in a lot of venues. I still remember, I was really rooting for the South Carolina State BCU game, and then South Carolina State did that breast cancer show. I was just like, oh man, they let me down, But that was that fear that, BCU's carrying. And just like you said, just the execution from the drill and then what they're doing in the stands overall. You still got to give it to them. I still want to put A&T up there because I still think that they took it to the next level from last year. I think they got better from last year. So it's definitely noteworthy. I want to throw the Boom in there, of course, always, because, they play the complete book. But definitely, like Brian was saying, and like all of us are saying, we worry about the overblowing a little bit. I mean, I'm sure that that's the style, and that's what we showing that, you got the what's down there. But, it's, who knows, man. I definitely think that, we could tune it down a little bit maybe, and we still would be, a dominant band. But definitely those are the three that jump out at me this year. Will be the Boom, A&T, and BCU. One category I want to throw in, I forgot to add before the last segment, and that's the best drill. What was the best drill that you saw this year, Brian?
Okay, so this is the one where I'm actually going to give this one to North Carolina A&T, mainly because even though I would put Southern, even though A&T's is not the most precise, so this is where it gets dicey. Like if I had to pick the top 4 bands, I couldn't do 3. I'd have to do top 4. It would be BCU, Southern, Jackson, and A&T overall. But I love A&T drills. Maybe it's just because I like more of the core style non-step 2. I'm not a step 2 person. So every time I see Alabama State do a step 2 drill, I just immediately, my stomach turns because it's usually just not clean. And I feel the same way when South Carolina State does them. So I'm not picking at Alabama State. But if you do a step 2 drill and it's not precise like Jackson and Southern, it really looks bad. And I don't think these band directors catch that. But to a band person who understands how it's supposed to work, it's like, this is so sloppy, it's just uncalled for. And they think that with a step 2 they can get away with it because the audience doesn't know. But then you take it to a band person. Okay, let me stop now. I'm sucking up too much time. I love A&T sport style kind of drills. That's what you see out of Norfolk. That's what you see out of Virginia State. I love it. Again, they have things to work on, and I think they will because they are planning. I can just tell you now, for next year, they are planning already. They are like, we got to work on this, and this. They're going to get better. They're hungry right now. And then Jackson and Southern, just the consistency. Nobody can out-drill Southern and March and BC.
Yeah. James, what you think, man? Who had the best drill you thought this year?
That's a tough one. That's such a tough one. Because it's based off a lot of tiers. With me, I have to say, entertainment production value, you got to go A&T. You have to. It's no other option there. As far as cleanliness and bringing, I would say more sound to the table. Sound is relative. I'm going to put that out there so I don't get hit about it. Sound is relative, but bringing more sound to the table and cleanliness, it's a toss-up between BCU and Southern. I never see them out of step. You'll never, see anything go terribly, terribly wrong with them. And everything is extremely clean. You can look as hard as you want to, and you won't find anything. That's just how clean they are. So Sticking with entertainment and production value, I say A&T had the best drills this year, honestly. Especially with their theme shows. They're awesome. Like I said, the production value of that. I mean, they can take those shows anywhere and perform them. And, people will be able to recognize them, go along with the flow. They take their theme shows and not only throw, a little bit of our flavor in there, but they might add something like a line, Disney song or something in there that everybody will be able to recognize. And you can't get higher production value than that. You can't. You honestly can't. And they're really showing that they're on the come up. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to pull out of the hat next year. But I will be scrutinizing them a lot more as far as their cleanliness on the field with the drills that they do. But I would definitely have to give it to A&T. I really would.
That's what's up. I'll go ahead and run down mine right quick because I want to get in the best conference before I ask you guys a couple of questions. We got we got about 10 minutes left.
Okay.
I definitely thought that Southern traditionally has great drill. I think they just drill well every year. But I thought that Howard had a really good drill this year too. I was really surprised with Howard and how they looked at their spacing and the things that they're performing, and the sound that they were able to keep up with. I know that Tyrone McCullum, one of the 8 to 5 guys, you guys go check out marching8to5.com. He's one of the guys who was telling us that they rearranged some of their sound because of their instrumentation, and they were able to deal with the hand that they have. They were able to make that adjustment. So with that and including that, I definitely had to mention that for one of the best drill. And then I wanted to think about adding like Ohio State. I didn't really know what to say with the animation to say, specifically a drill. But, that's one of the things of the pattern of motion we did learn from those Big Ten schools, things that we're doing now at HBCU. So definitely worth the mention and adding in Ohio State. But definitely Southern and Howard, what they were doing. And definitely adding, Ohio State there in the mix. I wanted to throw the boom out there because I know Dow Taylor is doing his thing. And I think at the Alcorn show, they just had a really, really outstanding drill. So, mentioning them as well. Right quick, what was the best conference? And I'll throw mine out there. I thought the SWAC. Last year I thought it was the MEAC. This year I thought it was the SWAC. And it's definitely seeing it at the SWAC Battle of the Bands that we had this year. It was a healthy, thick constituents of strong, powerful bands. Good spacing, good power, good numbers. I definitely thought that they have the better conference this year for bands. Brian, what do you think, man?
Yeah, hands down, I would give that to the SWAC this year. I think in the MEAC, Norfolk is still struggling, which I don't expect for long. I'm hearing rumors that they're restructuring. South Carolina State is consistently good, but they don't seem to get past good yet. And BCU is consistently good, and I guess Sam 1 year. That's it. They're going to be blazing. So I say the SWAC.
What do you think, James?
I would have to say the SWAC, but going into what he said, I feel the exact same way about the MEAC SWACs. Reign is definitely numbered. When you have FAMU coming back, they're not looking too far off from where they were. They're teaching the fundamentals to get them right back to where they were. And once they add those numbers back up, FAMU's going to be right back in the mix. I can't wait to see Norfolk get back to the way they were. I love Norfolk. Absolutely can't express how much I used to love Norfolk. Those guys used to be ridiculous. Can't wait to see them come back. Like I said, you also have North Carolina A&T, still on the come up. They're doing a great job right now, and they're pushing the move forward even more. So you got a lot of the heavy hitters from the MAC, either MEAC, or either building or cleaning their things and getting it more together. So they're going to be a top of the notch conference come next year again. Back to kind of where they were before. And not to forget about South Carolina State. I know they had some new additions to their staff recently as far as this year. Some great additions that are definitely going to bring a lot more things to the table for them in the coming future. So I know they're going to be all right as well. So you got to give it to the SWAC at this point. But I do think MEAC will be coming up pretty soon within the next 1 to 2 years.
That's outstanding, man. We're going to take our last commercial break, and we'll just take the audio break here. But it's sponsored by the MarchingPodcast.com. Let's take the time to hear from one of the shows, the Chopping It Up show, and we'll be featuring something on this week. I believe it's Thursday this week we'll be broadcasting the show. But the Chopping It Up show is one of our favorites because we get a chance to talk and we get a chance to, hear interviews about people who have a lot of good things to do through music and education. So we'll play that one time, and we have a couple last minutes for the last segment of our show. I want to ask you guys what you think. Rashad led into it about having a predominantly white school at the Honda Battle of the Bands. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor or a patron to the Marching Podcast, please contact the show, and we'll give you the criteria so we can start to pub your business using our platform. We'll play your commercial. We'll post on our website using our blog, and we'll help send out your information through social media. So contact us so we can help sell your business. Well, let's hear from our Chopping It Up show representing Christy Walker. Shout out to you, Christy, and thanks for doing these voiceovers. Let's hear from that before we sign off in the last segment this evening.
Hello, this is Christine Nayo-Katzman, CEO and publisher of Halftime Magazine, and you are listening to the 90 Degree Show here on the Marching Podcast Network.
Chopping It Up is a podcast of one-on-one interviews with positive role models that have a connection through music and or education. Chopping It Up is all about inspiring our youth for a great future and providing a roadmap on how to get there. We also chop it up to give insight to anyone looking for information or hope in their endeavors. Chop it up with us on Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern at blogtalkradio.com/marchingpodcast. Chopping It Up, changing the world through positive interaction.
Hey, this is Melita Wilson, alumni of Bethune-Cookman University in Daytona Beach, Florida, founder of HBCU Campus Tours, listening to the 90 Degree Show here on the Marching Podcast Network.
All right, we're in the last segment of the show, and you're listening to Miles, Ain't No Love in the Heart of the City, one of the songs that I really enjoyed them playing this year. We'll bring in the guys. We have about 3 minutes left, guys, so I want to ask you guys really fast. What do you think, and I ask you first, James, and we'll have to then close out for the show. What do you think about inviting a PWI, or predominantly white marching band, to the Honda Battle of the Bands?
To an event like Honda, it would definitely change the showcase. At the end of the day, you have to look at it from what the promoter's standpoint is. Obviously, the promoter want more money. So might they actually end up doing something like that to bring in more people? It's a possibility. Would I mind it? It's touchy, but kind of, based on what Honda is portrayed to people as. It's showcasing our style, the HBCUs, not the PWCs. Now, would I mind if we just had a battle of bands, we invited some PWCs now? Fine. But this is a showcase specifically for us. You know what I'm saying? So that would probably be the only disagreement I would have as far as that's concerned. But I wouldn't have any problem with them coming down to like any other battle of the bands. I would actually enjoy seeing it. To have a couple of PWCs come down and showcase their style. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, they used to do that in the California battle of the bands that I went to when I was in high school. They brought in a couple of PWCs, even though it was more of a show style marching band style, or show band marching band style. They invited like USC and some other bands, college PWCs that performed after the high school. And it was a marketing thing just to, get more crowd and get different people coming to the event to gain more money. But yeah,
I hate to cut you off, man. We about to exit on the show. We didn't have that much time for analysis. But I appreciate you being on the show. Thanks, man. I'll definitely be in contact with you, man. I appreciate you being on the show tonight, man. Right quick, man, what do you think about the show? And then we're going to have to sign off for the night. What do you think about inviting the PWC to the Honda Battle of the Bands?
You're talking to me?
Yeah, Brian. You there?
Oh, yeah. Just real quick. I know we only have 30 seconds. I would say no, mainly because the Honda Battle of the Bands is consistent with what the prior two guests have said. It's the showcase show-style band, and so it's such a different mix of flavor and style that I think it would be very difficult, especially, with judging and whatnot. It's very difficult because the styles are so different, and I think the audience would be so mixed and so odd that it wouldn't be just enjoyable for everyone.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you always calling in, and I appreciate you always listening in, man. But definitely, we might have more discussion about that as well, because I know that this discussion is alive and well, and it's live. We appreciate the 2014 Marching Podcast Awards. We're going to go ahead and ride out again with this Talladega that I would like to play. But again, we appreciate all those listening live. We appreciate the panelists. Thanks to you for listening. Check out the website and donate what's in your heart to themarchingpodcast.com. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. And remember, the eye is a better pupil and more willing than the ear. Advice may be misleading, but examples are always clear. See you next time.